What's up guys, OverMan here, and I'm back with another review, and this time we're going to take a look at the exotic pulse rifle, Red Death. And before we go any further, if you're watching this on March 13th or March 14th, go to the tower and go buy one of these from Xur. Right now. Don't ask about it, just do it. Do yourself a favor and pick this thing up. Good, now that you've bought it, let's take a look at the upgrades together, shall we? So in the first tree, of course, you can't change the sights on an exotic weapon, but we can change the stats a little bit. The first one we start off with is Accurized Ballistics. This one's nice to start off with, but it's not the one I go with. The next one is Field Choke. This doesn't make much of a difference, so fuck it, don't worry about it. The last one though is Aggressive Ballistics. This makes a difference. This is going to increase your impact. It's going to decrease the range. Fuck it though, doesn't matter, because in PvP, depending on how much armor your enemies decide to go with, you can actually kill in 2 bursts with this thing. In PvE, it's going to allow you to kill enemies in fewer bullets, which is always good. So this is the one I go with. The range hit doesn't matter too much because Red Death is really not too good at longer distances because of the lower stability. Now the first bonus we have is Unflinching. It's easier to aim under fire while using this weapon. This is an excellent perk to have on precision weapons because we've all been in that situation where we're trying to snipe somebody or something like that and you have enemies shooting at you and it's fucking annoying how your aim gets knocked around like that. This is gonna mitigate that, which is always good. Now in the middle tree we've got Snapshot, high caliber rounds, and single point sling. Snapshot doesn't make much of a difference, it's really hard to notice. High caliber rounds is great in PvE because it's going to stagger those enemies, which means less enemies shooting at you, which is always good. But in PvP, I'm really not sure about high caliber rounds. I don't notice much of a difference with people shooting at me because it seems like they stay on target just fine, honestly, for the most part. I really can't tell the difference with high caliber rounds in PvP, but some people swear about this perk. The last one is single point sling. This is more of a PvP perk. Switching weapons faster is great in PvP if you're not a blade dancer with the weapons ready immediately perk. It's nice to have in PvP definitely, but I think like instead of Snapshot it would have been great if we had Perfect Balance or something, or maybe Hammer Forged. But anyways, none of that matters because the final perk is Red Death. Each kill heals you and speeds up reloads. This is amazing in every part of the game, and I'm gonna tell you why. In PvE, this makes you a motherfucking tank. I like tankiness. When I played Mass Effect 3's co-op multiplayer, one of my favorite races to use was the Krokans, because they could take it and they could dish it out. I like being tanky, and Red Death really helps you do that. If you're the type of player that has trouble staying alive, this is the gun for you. This gun is gonna heal you. Having your shields constantly recharged is so useful when you've got a crap ton of things shooting at you. Now I will say that in the Nightfalls, especially this week's Nightfall, where things just freaking one-shot you or two-shot you so quickly that the heal doesn't make it too much of a difference, well, just that, it doesn't make too much of a difference. The Red Death perk isn't gonna do much in the Nightfalls. But speaking of high-end PvE content, as you probably know, in the hard mode raid, when you fight Crota, there's no chalice, so you're on your own when it comes to regenning health. And Red Death is the only primary exotic weapon that I would recommend using in that encounter. I've tried Cerberus Regime, and Cerberus Regime just does not cut it with its random bullshit. Red Death is gonna give you a consistent heal. All you gotta do is look down, you see a throw, you've got health. So now what about lower end PvE content? I think in lower end PvE content, this thing is totally fine. It's gonna kill those lower tier enemies in 1 to 2 bursts, and it'll take a few more to knock down those beefier targets. But Red Death is still a great weapon to take through a daily mission or a rock strike. Especially if you're doing the daily mission solo at level 30, or people are going AFK in your rock strike. It gives you a little bit of cushion. The Red Death perk can definitely help you out and keep you alive a little bit longer. That's what the weapon's about. It's about keeping you alive. And in Destiny, that is really important. Honestly, I can't say too much bad about Red Death in PvE, except for the lackluster range and stability. You can't really use this thing like you would a scout rifle or a sniper rifle. That's totally fine with me. I usually pack a high-powered sniper rifle to go in my loadout, so I don't care too much. But I don't think Red Death is a Fang of Air Ute weapon where I forget to use my other weapons in my loadout. When I'm using Red Death, I do switch weapons. I do switch to the shotty for close range situations, and I do switch to the sniper for long range situations. I don't think this is a do-it-all type of weapon, but it handles most situations pretty darn well. Alright, now moving on to PvP. Once again, Red Death is an absolute fucking animal. Like I said before, this thing can kill in 2 bursts. If you go with Aggressive Ballistics, it'll have the same impact of 3 little words, and the fire rate is actually a little bit higher. And while it's possible to kill in 2 bursts, for the most part, I kill in 3 bursts. I rarely see a 2 burst kill with Red Death, whereas I would consistently see 2 burst kills with 3 little words if I could stay on target. But honestly, I really don't give a damn because this thing hits so fucking hard, and the Red Death perk, once again, is a nice little cushion to have. You can play really aggressive with this slower rate of fire pulse rifle simply because you're constantly healing yourself as long as you're getting kills. It is a pain in the ass to fight a good Red Death user because if he's picking off your teammates or he's picking off enemies in free-for-all, he's constantly recharging his shields while you're not if you don't have Red Death. And it's a really nice luxury to have, to be able to kill a guy and wait just a couple of seconds for your health to recharge instead of, going around the corner, crouching, and waiting a few more seconds for it to recharge. A few seconds makes a big difference in the Crucible, and Red Death can give you that advantage. And I have to add, these sights, everything about this gun is just awesome. I know I usually don't talk about the sights and sounds of the weapon, but this really makes the weapon feel so it feels so great to use, man. The sounds and everything, it's just awesome. And I like the little skulls on the weapon too, it's pretty cool. Now, Red Death can be beat by other pulse rifles in certain situations. For example, in a close range situation, this versus Bad Juju isn't the greatest matchup for Red Death. In that situation, I'd put my money on Bad Juju, simply because Bad Juju is a lot more forgiving if you miss shots. Whereas Red Death, it's kind of similar to 3 little words. If you miss too many shots, you're pretty much fucked. So this one is definitely not for people who have sucky aim, but that's not to say it's a really hard weapon to use. Even my no aim having ass can use this weapon and use it effectively. I just actually won a free-for-all game with this thing, and it's totally viable even if you don't have the greatest aim. I highly recommend using Red Death to its full potential in the Crucible in the coming weeks because Red Death is really freaking good and it might get a nerf. Hopefully it doesn't, but it might, because a lot of people are going around saying this thing is OP. I don't really think it's OP, but it is really good. So use it while you can, just in case Bungie decides to hit it with the nerf hammer. So final verdict, buy it from Xur if you haven't already, and if he ever sells it again and you missed it, buy it without a doubt. This is a must buy because pulse rifles are great and a Red Death is a really good pulse rifle, so this weapon is amazing. For PvE, this thing is going to make you an absolute tank. It won't make you invincible, but it'll make you much more tanky than you were before. You can take significantly more damage and you can play a lot more aggressive in PvE, which is always a nice thing. And it makes the hard mode Crota encounter so much easier if you can just regen that health without having to pick up orbs or pop a super or anything. You just look down, you see a thrall, you shoot it in the face, boom, you've got health. It's the only weapon in the game that's going to guarantee that. Xur's regime is wildly unreliable for a heal, so don't count on that. I've used it before in the hard mode, and I was totally disappointed. I said, fuck this, I'm equipping Gjallarhorn. There's no reason to use Suros over Gjallarhorn. But Red Death over Gjallarhorn, especially if you've got the Hunger of Crota rocket launcher, I say hell yeah, go for it. Red Death is awesome. Oh, and you can bet your ass that I'm gonna be using this thing in the Iron Banner next weekend, because this is one of the best guns in the game to be using in the Crucible right now. Plus, I'm a noob, and the Red Death perk is gonna help me heal and keep me alive a little bit longer, so that's always nice. But that's enough babbling for me. I'm gonna cut this one right here. If you did like the video, don't forget to smash that like button, and if you're not feeling too shy, drop a comment below and let me know if you picked this thing up while Xur was selling it and what you think about it. Do you think this is better than 3 little words? Is it better than Bad Juju? I think so. I think this is my favorite pulse rifle in the game right now. Tell me what you think. And Twitter link in the description if you want to follow me on Twitter. Definitely do that. You'd make my fucking day if you followed me on Twitter. And subscribe for more content like this in the future. That's it for me though. OverMan out.